Well, hello there, and welcome back to another video. And today I want to talk to you all about Disney, who have recently restructured their entire company to get ready to launch the rival to Netflix that is going to be the so far untitled Disney streaming service. So far in the UK, however, we have had a sneaky preview of what that streaming service is going to look like, and this seemingly quite bland company restructuring that they announced in a press release recently sheds a little bit of light onto what this streaming service is going to look like. And this is what it said. The Walt Disney Company today announced a strategic reorganization of its businesses into 4 segments: the newly formed direct-to-consumer and international, the combined parks, experiences and consumer products, media networks, and studio entertainment. The reorganization is effective immediately. So what does this mean? Well, we'll break it down a little bit and talk about how it relates to many things. So the studio entertainment arm is going to remain largely the same. That is basically Disney Animation, Disney Live Action, Lucasfilm, so Star Wars, Pixar, and then Marvel, of course. The only change there is that the distribution and sales part of that company is going to shift over and go into the new segment, which is the direct-to-consumer branch, which we'll talk about in a bit because that's actually quite interesting. The media networks arm, which is the ABC television group, and ESPN, which is more American and we don't have so much over here in the UK, that's going to stay largely the same. The only difference is that the international Disney channels are going to again move over to this new mysterious direct-to-consumer branch. And so the first major change that they announced is that the merchandise and the Disney parks are going to be merged under one new parks, experiences and consumer products. This means that basically outside films and TV, every single real world interaction that you could have with Disney as a company, whether you want to buy a toy or you want to go on holiday to Disneyland Paris, all of that is going to be underneath the same umbrella part of the company, which I think suggests to me that they're going to start working a bit closer together. Now you have things that are exclusive in the parks that you can only buy there, and each of the parks around the world seem to operate semi-individually. But moving forward, as we'll have to talk about in another video because it's a massive topic as to what's happening in the parks in the future. Basically, it seems across the world Disney is trying to create more of a cohesive experience with their brand, which is vaguely interesting, but not tremendously interesting, so we'll move on. But in regards to the brand new direct-to-consumer and international, they said, the new segment will be comprised of Disney's international media businesses and the company's direct-to-consumer businesses globally, including the upcoming Disney-branded direct-to-consumer streaming service, the company's ownership stake in Hulu, and its soon-to-be-launched ESPN Plus streaming service. So essentially they're positioning themselves so that this new streaming service can optimize everything that Disney has to offer. The team behind releasing the major feature films into cinemas are going to be the same team behind releasing titles onto this new streaming service. But this doesn't really come as a surprise because it's just the next move from the company in trying to cut out the middleman of Netflix, Amazon Video, Now TV, Sky Cinema. For example, late last year, I'm sure you didn't miss the news that, subject to government approval, Disney were going to be taking over the film branch of 20th Century Fox and the Fox network. There's quite a few reasons why I think Disney are going to go ahead with this deal if they can. One, for example, is it would mean they could consolidate back some of the Marvel properties such as Fantastic Four and X-Men, obviously. But also, if this deal goes through, they'll get the whole back catalogue of all the 20th Century Fox movies and brands to add to their streaming service and their merchandise and parks. Now, if you're a Netflix subscriber, I'm sure you've noticed in recent years how they're pushing out more and more Netflix original content. And the reason for that is it's becoming very clear to them and everyone that on the horizon, these movie studios and TV networks are realizing that they can make their own on-demand streaming service and they don't need to use Netflix. But with Disney being the biggest media company in the world, this is actually quite important news as it's giving a hint at the structure of what they might be doing and something that could potentially shake up the entire entertainment industry, depending on how they go about it and whether people like you and me take it up. But what's particularly interesting if you're based in the UK is that we already have a version of the Disney streaming service, which is the service Disney Life, which is only available in the UK and a select group of other countries. Disney confirmed recently that Disney Life is a beta version of what their streaming service will eventually become. And so I think it's fair to say that when they do launch this new service globally, rather than it being just an on-demand video service like Netflix, it will be more inclusive to all Disney properties and brands, for example, including their books and their music and more of their TV shows. But it begs the question, if you have Netflix or something similar, would you unsubscribe if Disney pulled all the Disney and Fox brands off of the service? I'd love to hear your opinion in the comments down below, mainly because I haven't posted a YouTube video in a very long time and I've run out of comments to read and reply to on the tube. It's very selfish. I'm very selfish. The second story I wanted to cover today is a very British one because it's about the unfolding scandal regarding Ant and Dec. If you're from anywhere outside of the UK, I'll forgive you for having no idea what I'm talking about. But Ant and Dec are essentially two of the biggest television personalities in Britain. For example, at the National Television Awards, they've been awarded Best Presenter for the last 18 years in a row. However, the recent controversy is that Anthony McPartlin, or Ant, was arrested and charged on suspicion of drink driving and is currently awaiting sentencing. And he has since stood down from all of his television commitments for the foreseeable future. At the time, a couple of weeks ago, this forced an episode of their hit show Ant and Dec's Saturday Night Takeaway to be cancelled before the penultimate episode, which aired this Saturday, was hosted by Dec, which is the first time that he had hosted anything solo in his entire career. I don't know about you, but I watched it and I felt so bad when he walked out. I felt like he was almost gonna cry or something. The pressure on him was obviously so much because he had to carry off this show which he'd been doing for years with his best friend, and also he had to present on his own, which he'd been doing for years with his best friend. But on the other hand, he kind of had to do it because some elements of the show are planned up to a year in advance and it's really audience focused, so it's quite a hard show to just cancel last minute. I think the best analogy I can give to any Americans watching is it's like a hybrid of Saturday Night Live and Ellen. But moving forward, I think ITV are really entering a state of crisis. Ant and Dec are arguably their biggest stars. In late 2016, they reportedly signed a deal with the broadcaster worth £30 million. They front three of ITV's biggest entertainment shows, Saturday Night Takeaway, I'm a Celebrity, and Britain's Got Talent. And given that Ant potentially faces a prison sentence, the network is about to face some tough choices. But what can they do? The situation reminds me a little bit of the Top Gear fiasco a few years ago when Jeremy Clarkson was eventually sacked from Top Gear by the BBC for punching a producer. I used to watch Top Gear most weeks and still do, but I don't think it's ever really recovered from losing its three iconic stars. But ITV may have to come to a similar decision in the coming months, and I'm interested to see what you have to say about it. And finally, in theatre news, Strictly Ballroom had its first West End preview last week, but had to be stopped when a burst pipe flooded part of the stage. Now, I love and respect the position of a director in a theatre, having been one now and again myself in the past. However, there is this Twitter video showing the director and choreographer with buckets during the cleanup backstage that just gives me so much. It just makes me chuckle with sadness. Because back in the day with my directorial stage debut, the set collapsed and I was the director on the stage on hands and knees with a screwdriver fixing it in front of the audience. So I relate heavily, and I hope that they get over the problems and fix it and the show can reopen once more. And that's where I'm going to leave the show for today. If you want to watch more of me, I'll leave another video around here, and all that's left for me to say is thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon.